Hello and welcome to Chart of the Day Cafe for Tuesday, February 7th, 2017. Trading stocks is a high level of risk and viewers should complete their own due diligence on any stock or underlying that they intend to own. 100% of the content of this video and communique is intended for journalistic and educational purposes only. This video and all indicators, strategies, and articles herein should not be construed as investment advice, not making any recommendations, always for your further homework. Hope you had a great weekend. We are still making our way through earnings season, so the market is digesting that data every day. So let's dive into our video and just see where we are right here, right now. We always start off with a look at the IWM, which is the ETF that represents the Russell 2000. And we step back to take a look at it on the bigger picture time frame, the 5-year monthly. We were paying particular attention to this light blue shaded line that offered resistance to the Russell back here in 2015, but we made our way through it in November with a nice bullish candle on volume. December, there's January's candle, and here we are so far for February. So we've got this little wedge pattern that we've been keeping an eye on. I'm going to pull it into the smaller time frame so you can take a look at that, but just wanted you to get that big picture view. So let's look at it on the 1-year weekly. Here is that same little wedge, and we've been talking about this candle that took us through this light blue shaded line that goes all the way back on the 5-year chart, and here's this little wedge pattern that we're keeping an eye on. So last couple of weeks were fairly, they held steady, support held, and here's where we are right here, right now. I'm going to pull it in even closer so you can see better. So this is our minor area of support on the daily chart. Price is just kind of dancing around. Yesterday was a non-committal day, one way or the other. A red day overall, but not significantly red. But with price up and over the 8-day EMA, we use this blue line, which is the 8-day EMA, as our guide. When price is above the blue line, like it is here, we are putting new charts forward. And when it goes below, we just stop and wait. But price is now underneath, so we will be putting a new chart forward today. And so the company we're going to add to our watch list today is Baxter International, BAX. They are a global diversified healthcare company. They're engaged in developing, manufacturing, and marketing pharmaceutical and medicines to fight immune disorders, infectious diseases, that sort of thing. You know what, Chart of the Day Cafe? It is all about value, and Baxter International has a really nice high value score. Second thing I look for is growth, and BAX has a forecasted earnings growth rate of 23%. Third thing, it's not a must, but in this case it's there, is a dividend yield. Current dividend yield on BAX is 1.08%, and the PE is 10.40. So with that, let's get into the chart. We're looking at the 5-year monthly chart. You can see that overall Baxter International is in a beautiful uptrend. It spent years consolidating down in this area and then broke through. Looks to be consolidating in this area as well. We are right in this area where, should it break through, sky's blue. It's never been higher. There's no overhead resistance. That's a really good situation. It announced earnings the other day. The earnings were deemed to be favorable. We're looking at the monthly chart. We had a nice strong monthly candle last month. We're sitting right here right now. So I think this is one to keep an eye on your watch list. Given that healthcare overall has not been doing all that well lately, Baxter International, let's pull it into the smaller time frame. Let's look at the 1-year weekly chart. Bouncing around this area, but for the most part doing pretty well. So should healthcare pick up, I would expect that Baxter International will break through this line of resistance and might make new highs. Emphasis on might, just keeping an eye on it here. So we're looking at the weekly. Let's take a look at it on that smaller time frame. Let's go 6-month daily. This was earnings. Earnings were deemed to be favorable, and we're trading in this little wedgie pattern here at this very important area. So should things pick up in the days ahead, I would be waiting for Baxter International to perhaps break through this area and continue its uptrend, keeping in mind that it's consolidated for a long time, and should healthcare pick up, then that move higher might be more significant to my way of thinking. So let's put it into our 3 and 8. At Chart of the Day Cafe, it's all about price being up and over the 8-day EMA. So we like to see this sort of situation down here where the pink crosses over the blue and we get price strength coming in. When it crosses below, we are no longer interested. Whether you do it weekly or daily, it's up to you. I am just putting interesting looking charts in front of you to trade any way you like. But I like to see it up and over that 8-day EMA. So we do have it up and over the 8-day, but this is an area that I would be keeping an eye on and seeing how this stock behaves in this area. We always like to take a look at the sector that our featured chart is in, and so we're looking at the XLV, which is the ETF for the healthcare sector. Looking at the 5-year monthly chart, overall you can see it's been in this beautiful uptrend, although lately, since mid-2015, been trading sideways. Having said that, it's starting to look perky. Price is starting to move up and over the 8-day EMA on the monthly chart, and price looks as though it might be starting to get some strength underneath it. Always a good thing. Baxter International, for the most part, has showed greater strength than the healthcare sector overall. So should this start to pick up, my way of thinking would be with those earnings and the strength behind Baxter International, it may give it a reason to break through that area of resistance that it's currently at. Let's also take a quick look at PJP, which is more specific to Baxter International. This is the pharmaceuticals ETF. Same thing, monthly chart, overall uptrend, but lately not doing so well. But these are, to me, interesting looking candles that may reflect a little bit of a turnaround here. We're starting to get a more bullish looking candle on the month should it move up and over that 8-day EMA and strength come into this sector, then Baxter might do well with it. We also like to consider seasonality, and here is the seasonal chart for Baxter International. You can see that it starts to come into a period of seasonal strength at this time of year, and it usually has a nice run between now and August or September. No guarantee that happens this year, but always nice to know. Also, I'm going to include this article with today's video. It came out after Baxter's earnings, talks about the changing story there and how they are redirecting resources to more high growth profiting products, which might bode well for the future. And FinViz, we always like to take a look at FinViz and see how analysts are looking at the stock, and you can see that overall they're pretty positive. They're not so recent, but overall pretty positive, which is a nice thing to see. So with that, let's go back and check the boxes for Baxter International. We looked at the market. Overall, the IWM has price up and over the 8-day EMA on the daily chart. The sector that BAX is in, we looked at XLF and PJP. Overall, strength in the 5-year chart, sideways on the 2-year, but looking perky in this area. Baxter International in a long-term uptrend on the 5-year chart and possibly looking to go through resistance here. We're keeping an eye on it. It's got an excellent value score. I've got these highlighted because at Chart of the Day Cafe, they're absolute musts. Excellent value score, great growth score, forecasted earnings growth rate of 23%. It's got a dividend yield of 1.08%. It already has a 3 and 8 cross, so we're checking that box, but you want to be aware that it's at resistance. Very close to resistance. You want to make sure that you're aware of that. It's got seasonality in its favor. It's got that analyst support, and we talked about sky is blue. If it gets through this area, there's no overhead resistance, a nice thing. Don't always get that. Overall PE of 10.40. It's past earnings, and the changing story that we like to talk about is the fact that they're doing a little bit of a restructuring of their product pipeline, and they might be better able to garner greater earnings growth in the future. Thanks for watching today's video, and wanted to remind you that we will endeavor to put little notes in our discussion section here Monday through Thursday. I try to go through our old chart picks and make note of ones that may be setting up for a fresh 3 and 8 cross or getting very close. just to remind you, and then you can go back and take a look at that video in our library. So with that, I will leave you. Have a great next couple of days, and we'll put our next video out on Thursday.